I have all these interesting backgrounds and stories that make who I am somebody that can reflect or wants to build something that actually avoids the suffering that my family went through, which is the relocation, the exodus of a family, the breaking of a family because there's no opportunities or because there's war, because there's issues. So when one of the things that we really wanted to achieve with TAP was to allow people to have thriving lives in their own home countries.
Welcome to a new episode of Impact Talk, the podcast where we share inspiring stories of meaningful change. I'm Nadine Zidani, sustainability and climate activist and founder of MENA Impact, a Dubai-based company on a mission to build an impact ecosystem in the MENA region. In today's episode, it's all about social impact. With my guest, Christian Vezjak. He's the co-founder of a social enterprise called TAP. TAP is a talent acceleration platform that unlocks remote job opportunities for high-potential tech talents in Palestine. Welcome, Chris, on Impact Talk.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, and I'm super happy that we could make it face-to-face because you live in Amsterdam and you're now in Dubai, so it's an amazing opportunity to meet you.
Yeah, of course. I'm super happy to be here today.
So, Chris, I really want to start by your story because you were born in Bolivia, you studied engineering in the US, and now you are the co-founder of TAP, a company based in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. So can you tell us more about your story and how you came to start a social enterprise?
Of course. So, obviously it's a very long story, but there's a couple of things that are really interesting about the story that kind of play out again, sort of, in our mission. One thing is that my father was a refugee or got political asylum in Germany after Yugoslavia was doing really bad politically, and he fled with his family to Nuremberg, and he became a German citizen at age 2. A lot of hardship, a lot of suffering. He had a really rough upbringing based on the local conflict that was happening in Yugoslavia, and they started a new life in Germany. He never felt at home in Germany. I feel like Germany was a tough place to be as a migrant back in the days. And he, at 22, was doing a holiday in Canada, and he thought, maybe I don't go back to Germany. So he never went back, started traveling for 2 years. And at age 24, met this lady in Bolivia. Now, this lady's journey was also very interesting. She was born in Chile, but both her parents are Palestinian from Bethlehem. So they left Palestine in 1948. I don't know exactly under what circumstances, but I know they were refugees in Turkey, and then at some point they fled for Chile. That became a safe haven for a lot of Palestinian refugees. And then my mom and the family decided to move to Bolivia because Bolivia is a beautiful country. So there was my mom and there was my dad. A couple of years later, I was born. A Bolivian with a German passport, with a Palestinian mom, with a Chilean background somewhere. It's pretty crazy. But now I moved to the Netherlands. I have all these interesting backgrounds and stories that make who I am somebody that can reflect or wants to build something that actually avoids the suffering that my family went through, which is the relocation, the exodus of a family, the breaking of a family because there's no opportunities or because there's war, or because there's issues. So when one of the things that we really wanted to achieve with TAP was to allow people to have thriving lives in their own home countries.
Thanks for sharing the story. I want to come back to, because TAP is focusing on Palestinians. So what triggered in your journey to start, working in social impact and especially working with Palestinians?
Right. So I think the story of my Palestinian background was quite kind of hidden from me because in my youth, I mean, there's some kind of element of my father not wanting, because my parents divorced, so my father didn't want me to be close to my mom, so he sort of wanted me to separate from my whole Palestinian background a bit and my Palestinian family, and I did. So I didn't hang out too much with my grandparents or with my aunts. I kind of started hanging out more with my dad's side of the family, and eventually I moved to live with my dad. So there was a kind of a hole there that I left empty. And when I was doing an MBA in France, I was 30, I left Bolivia after working with my dad for 7 years and seeing his entrepreneurial journey. I saw this Palestinian guy, and I was like, hey, how's it going? We became friends in the MBA, and then he went on with his life and I went on with my life. And that's how the company story starts. I wanted to build a startup with another guy, a Swedish guy, and we needed a software engineer. And this guy that I met in the hallway of my MBA, he was starting an IT outsourcing company in Palestine. So we knew about this guy, and we reached out to the guy and we said, hey, can you build a product for us? And he was like, yeah, sure. And we became his first customer. And this company is called Kitos, which means thank you. And we met Jafar. We worked with Jafar, my co-founder, at TAP. And after 3 months of working together, he invited us to Palestine. So as a holiday. And we went there.
Was it your first time?
My first time. Yeah. So I'm 32, heard a bunch of stories from my family, but never really got to see it. There was a lot of mystery and a lot of interest in me, I guess, to go on that trip. And I went to Tel Aviv, landed in the Tel Aviv airport, and got on a taxi, drove to Nablus. That's my first destination. And the first thing I noticed was, what the hell is going on here? I mean, I saw the kind of, I don't know if I would call it aggression or call it, the circumstances were so weird that this didn't make any sense. So at that point, seeing the settlements and seeing what was going on, I really felt like the stories that my grandparents were talking about were actually still happening somehow. So I had an amazing time in Palestine, and I loved my trip to Palestine. I went back to the Netherlands, and I thought maybe I need to help out this guy Jafar, who was building something very interesting in a very interesting place at a very interesting time, and I sort of jumped on board.
So you met Jafar and you started TAP immediately?
So I met Jafar and I asked him, what's your biggest problem growing the company? I helped him get some business just as a friend, just like trying to help him out. And one of the things we realized was that there was a huge amount of people looking for jobs. So every time that the company Kitos, the first company, was posting a job opportunity, there was 50, 60, 100 people applying for these jobs. And when we interviewed them, we could see the potential. We can see like these guys are great, but there was something missing. And we decided to fill the gap. That's something missing. We created an entity, or like a bit of a training program that we called the Talent Acceleration Program, which was just a bridge between the guys where we could see there were, precious stuff, but they were not making it to the job market for not very, important reasons, like meaningful reasons. So we thought, okay, what if we accelerate their journey a bit? And we created this entity called TAP, and that was just an internal program of Kitos that then became an entity of its own.
When was that?
We incorporated TAP a year and a bit ago, and Kitos was created in 2019. So it was about 2 years and a half of Kitos, and then a year and a half of TAP before we incorporated. And the idea was immediately interesting for a lot of investors and people. So we were able to fundraise, and we basically took all the Kitos team and turned it into the TAP team. And now we focus only on solving that problem that Kitos had, which was, how do we identify people and help them get into the job market?
And how people do react to your mission and your impact?
Yeah, so everyone says it makes a lot of sense. That's the first most interesting thing, that everyone says like, wow, this is just makes sense. And obviously it makes sense. I mean, humans. We're all the same. We have the same, basically, about the same brain, about the same capabilities when we're born. What's the difference between me and somebody who was born in Palestine, in Gaza, or in Jordan, or in wherever else, right? So this misconception that we're different because we were born in different places makes absolutely no sense. And so the first reaction is, well, what you guys are doing makes a lot of sense. And the second reaction is, how can I help? Most of the times. So people are really helpful, and they're helping us get to the right places and to the right people.
Amazing. I had exactly the same reaction. I was like, it makes so much sense. And you want to be part of such adventure. So amazing work. I want to know more about how TAP works, actually, because you work with a pool of talents in Palestine, but it's not just about being, the matchmaker between a job opportunity and the talents, because you take them through like a whole process and training. And so can you explain a little bit more about the journey of those talents?
Of course. So this is 2019, and we're collaborating with a local NGO in Gaza, and we made a deal with them that we would start onboarding more Gazians into Kitos, this IT outsourcing company. So the first iteration of this program was me and Jafar coaching them. I was teaching communication, and Jafar was teaching the technical stuff because Jafar has a tech background. So we took two people. It was Mohammed Sharif and Orjuan, both based in Hebron. And we nurtured them for a few months. And I would say they bloomed very quickly in different ways. But we can see Orjuan just having such an amazing energy and very quickly just, wanting to eat the world. And that energy became really productive energy. And then Jafar was teaching them, the basics of coding and so on. Now we have a team of about 6 people who are doing that as a full-time job, designing curriculum for the technical side of things, the technical skills, but also the power skills. So it's really all about how can we make somebody as prepared for the technical bit that needs to be done in the job, but at the same time making sure that the angle is not, oh yeah, these guys are going to be doing some kind of job that is, basically clicking the computer and that's it, These are just cogs in a machine. That's not the point. We have another bit of the training which is about self-worth and self-awareness and growth. And my vision in the whole thing is that these guys are landing jobs in Swiss companies that are raising $20-50 million in funding, and they start somewhere in the company. But in 10 years, I want to see these guys as VPs of, as heads of, as CEOs of. And that's the dream, because right now with the way that the system works, we only help those who have enough help, right? So the people who go to the best MBAs, they're the guys who have the most money. While I had a tough youth, my dad in the end made it, and that's how I was able to afford an MBA that costs so much money. So the whole system is rigged for the ones who have more opportunities, and we're trying to rig it through our approach.
I want to talk about what's going on right now in Palestine, because we know that there is a terrible war ongoing in Gaza. To date, we are on the 21st of November. We have more than 11,000 people killed, most of them civilian. A terrible humanitarian crisis, no access to water, food, terrible situation. So I have 2 questions for you. My first question is, how do your TAP team is doing in Gaza? Because I know you have people in Gaza, and how this current situation is impacting the work you're doing.
Yeah. We have a team of 3 people full-time in Gaza, 2 ladies and a gentleman, 2 ladies that have won the hearts of everyone in the team, and Hashem, the guy as well. There's been a lot of crying. So I know that people have told me, hey, I woke up every morning crying for the last 10 days. It really gets close when you know somebody so closely and they're so amazing. And then they all of a sudden get in this circumstances that were not, part of their plan. So yeah, we feel quite helpless. There's nothing we can do. I mean, really nothing. I mean, we've tried everything. The best thing we can do is top up their SIM cards so we can keep chatting with them. And that does not guarantee that we're going to actually talk to them, because the SIM cards are having issues and there's no connection. So we get a message from them every couple of days. We've lost contact with one of them. Sadly, we don't know exactly what's going on, but we believe he's doing okay. We have also 50 tappers in Gaza, and we've known from at least, 10, 20 people that lost their houses, and some people, I don't want to go into details, but have lost more. So for me, it's unbelievable that these 50 guys that we've selected to be part of the TAP program, who are such potentials, beautiful people, and have to go through this insane amount of pain. And I find it interesting because we are we have a selection machine, right? We have a company that screens tons of people to find the right fit for us. And I would feel like in some way what's going on is not justified, because I never come across, at least in my experience with TAP, with people that had any bad intentions. And when we paint people in Gaza as they have bad intentions, or they're in the wrong place or something like that, I feel like we need to be very careful. And I think we need to be just fair. And obviously, I think one of the most interesting arguments is that half of the population is very young. They did not vote. They did not participate in the process that led to what's going on. So I think the only way to help, to do something, is by having your heart in your hand and saying, how can we actually help these people to get out of the circumstances they're in, and just look at it from a humanitarian point of view, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not a business. It's not a lot of people think about it as a political issue, a strategic issue, and so on. I think it's a human issue, and to be honest, we were quite frozen because we have so much of our activities are in Palestine. We were quite frozen to talk about it, to do things, because every step we take in any direction makes somebody feel different things. So we at some point we have to keep going and keep pushing, and that's what we're gonna do, hopefully soon, and start telling the beautiful stories of Palestinian youth getting jobs and getting opportunities.
And how do you manage the perception of your clients, the organizations you work with, because you're based in Amsterdam? So I guess you have like the two views, I would say, opposite views sometimes on the current situation. Do you have to face some challenges with that? Do you need to trigger some discussions as well?
Yeah. My advice is always educate yourself. So whenever I see kind of confusion or people are taking a side, I only say, this is what you should read, this is what you should look at, these are the resources that I feel are trustworthy, and I hope that that's enough for somebody to spend some time. And I think people are doing it a lot, especially in Europe. Right now, there's a lot of interest in knowing what's going on, and I think people's perspectives are changing quickly. Not as in I'm taking the side off or taking the side off. That's not the discussion. More, it's about, again, what can we do, and what should we not do.
How is your posture at TAP right now? Because being a company, being a social enterprise, you don't want to step into political discussions. At the same time, you are supporting Palestinians. I'm just wondering how do you position the conversation, and how it's perhaps impacting as well the plans that you have.
Yeah. So we try to, we're a business, and that's the most important thing for us, is to remain a business, the most important thing we can do is stay alive and thrive as a company, so that in 20 years we've grown and we've supported a lot of lives. So we don't want to take a political stance. We are very, we do share our voices once in a while, and obviously we have people there, so we want people to be aware of the fact that there's great people who are suffering. So we don't shy away from that. But we do, when it comes to companies, we want them to, I think a lot of them already understand why we're doing this, that there's this value of the human element. And obviously the business case is actually very interesting. So when you find somebody who has a lot of potential and they're living in their local communities, they're going to cost the company a third maybe of what it costs to have somebody, producing the same amount of value, but in Amsterdam or in the UK. So it is a combination of the business case and the impact. I would say 60%, 70% business case, 30% impact. But we've spoken to a lot of companies that have lost contact with their Gazian engineers or marketeers. We don't obviously do only software training. We do marketing training, sales training as well, all for remote work. And what's interesting is that because of the collaboration between the European companies and the Palestinian talent, we see a lot of empathy and a lot of interest and why and so on. And I think that's where the conversation starts, the awareness starts. And so far, all companies who have lost connection with their tappers in Palestine have been extremely supportive. So that's really, really great.
It's amazing because you are in a way building bridges between, two views, different parts of the world, different, mindsets, and it's actually helping the conversation and helping, on both sides to learn more. So it's more than just, I would say, a normal company.
Yeah, no, for sure. We had so many interesting conversations in our environment, and the thing is, we teach people how to think for themselves, and I think that's such an important thing, because you often hear that one of the biggest issues in Gaza or in Palestine or basically anywhere in the kind of in Jordan and in Syria and in Yemen is this amazingly high unemployment rate. And the issue is that employment is such an important thing for human beings. Like the week is designed by supposedly by God to cater for work and cater for the weekend and cater for this balance of life. And then when you don't have a job, so much meaning just disappears. So when you don't have meaning in your life, obviously you have a different life. And then by giving people meaning through jobs, it just leads to so many beautiful things, and good things happen.
That's the power of social enterprise, because it's not about charity. You really give, dignity by getting a job, by empowering, an individual and then a whole family and a community. Yeah. So, that's I'm a strong advocate for social enterprise. Talking about that, I think a lot of people, who's going to listen to the podcast, going to be very interested by your business model. So, can you tell us more about the challenges perhaps you faced to set up, such a business model, and what you learned throughout your journey?
Sure. So one of the things that is really interesting is that not only is there no opportunities when you are born in certain places, there's no infrastructure, there's no financial infrastructure, there's no education. The level of education is not as you would expect. There's so many things that you have to figure out, and we never thought we would be fixing all these problems, but all of a sudden we actually have to. So we've become a bit of a bank, a bit of an edtech company, a bit of a HR placements company. So we've built all these elements of the company at the same time because they were necessary. So I guess in building a social impact business, you're really not trying to cream the top. You're not trying to build an app that tomorrow is downloaded by 1 million people who are doing some kind of thing. It's more about building the infrastructure. So a lot of people say, no, this is not your job. This is not how the startup world should be. This is for the governments to do. But I disagree. I feel like a lot of good entrepreneurs have actually built that infrastructure, and that's why they've been successful, because nobody else has put the work. So yeah, that's been one of the interesting issues or topics that we've dealt with, that now we have so many different verticals of what we do, teaching, financing, and so on. But I think it makes us stronger, and it makes as a business, also the barriers of entry for competition, for example, gets tougher as we move in the directions we're moving. So I really believe there's a solid business being built right now.
And how do the clients, on the client side, how do they react when you pitch to them that you're going to bring them, high-skilled talents from Palestine?
Yeah, it's very. I mean, there's all kinds of reactions. Mm-hmm. I would say I think we get. This is a topic of discussion all the time, because we're looking for the ICP, right? The ideal customer persona. That's a big term in terms of sales. Mm-hmm. And what happens is, when we talk to people and they don't listen, it already has to do with something that is very psychologically charged. So let me explain. So if I say I'm doing youth, Palestine, women, and so on, I know that maybe 60% of the people will turn around and say, this is not for me. I don't care about these things. But the 40% that do talk to us, they're already quite welcoming. So I don't sit in a call trying to convince somebody that what we're doing is great and so on. They already believe in what we're doing because of this self-selection bias towards our mission. So I had really good experiences, always very empowering discussions. Once in a while, you have a discussion with a client that does not understand it, but once you explain a bit, you feel like they came for a reason. They had an intuition that this was a good thing.
And do you work with clients from the Middle East as well? I'm curious to...
Yeah, we do. So we have been focused initially in Palestine. So we were trying to help other Palestinian companies hire talent. Mm-hmm. And then we thought, what about Europe? Because I'm based in Amsterdam. So then we did Europe. And then one of our investors based in Dubai, he was very, very passionate for what we're doing. And he kind of opened doors to Dubai and our eyes towards the region as well. And we thought, okay, why not? One of the reasons I'm here is exactly to do that, to get to know more people and so on. But we have at least 10 companies in the region already hiring from us. Mm-hmm. And big companies who, are raising a ton of money, and they're like, I need to hire so many people. Mm-hmm. They're already talking to us, kind of getting ready for Q1 next year. Very exciting stuff. And also, we officially expanded to Jordan.
Okay.
So since 2 weeks ago, so our first cohorts of Jordanians and Palestinians are going to be launched in Q1. And obviously the idea is that we become pan-Arab, or I don't know what the term is, but so be in many countries in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. And so we just keep going.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really amazing, because when I had first the discussion with your team, when they explained to me about TAP, I was like, why? I've never heard about, this amazing social enterprise. And I think people, in the region, especially now, are very, very touched by what's going on in Palestine and want to help. And I think that's an amazing way to shift our mindset from, as I said before, charity, to really not helping, but giving dignity actually to people and working with them and working with talents.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because when we talk about empowering somebody or them having the same kind of like access and us, it's very interesting because I see the guys who actually become part of companies, and we see the opposite. We actually see them showing the companies or the people in the companies, these things, this humility. So the value is actually very interestingly going the opposite way. So I think when companies understand that, it's going to be a really interesting moment for us. A lot of people talk about this research. Oh, if you have a company that is diverse, then you have so much more profitability. I really don't like these kind of sentences, like 32% of profitability increase because somebody said. But when we see actually the reactions of people in the companies that we work with, beautiful thing, German startup, AI company, raised a ton of money. They were stealth mode for many months, and then they came out of stealth, and they hired a tapper, I don't know, a year before they came out of stealth. And the lady from a team, the German team, said, at the beginning I was a bit, I wasn't sure about TAP. I was like a bit skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
And today I cannot imagine my team without our tapper. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of dynamic that we see happening more and more often. And we are trying with our team, with our marketing team and so on, to bring that to life and have better ways to explain this. There's a huge opportunity in the companies being more cost efficient, jobs being created locally, local ecosystems for entrepreneurship being built upon these great high quality jobs. And I think it's a win-win-win. So super excited to do this project.
How do you measure your impact?
So I've come across the theory of change a couple times. We actually do have a theory of change now. We've created an impact report that I'll leave with you. A couple of weeks ago, we're using a theory of change. We have the whole framework, and so there's some elements there that are really clear in terms of what we believe we're doing and what is actually happening. So I think compared to the standard, we're really good at measuring our impact. But the way we measure impact is obviously, if we compare the population of people who don't go through TAP programs with those who do, you have obviously the salary effect. So it's 120% more income they make per year than the person who does not go through TAP. Then there is the secondary effects that might be around, being the breadwinner for the family and being able to support 7 family members with one salary in some cases. So you really see the stories of people.
It's something you measure?
We haven't. I don't know to what extent we've measured that part, but yeah, I mean, I can take a look. I remember for the first company, I had to do the theory of change. So I'm sure we measured those things, but for the second company, it was somebody else who did it. So I'll take a look.
About the tappers, how many are men? How many are women? How many are from Gaza, the West Bank? You can tell us more about
Sure. So I believe at this point we have graduated about 130, of which about 100 have jobs. And there's another 60 something more in training. So total TAP alumni right now, including the ones who have jobs, who are in training, is 200. That is by no means a huge amount of people, but it's a start. We're planning to potentially double year on year for a couple of years. That's a story, obviously, that everyone from an investment point of view wants to hear, but it's quite possible, so we're quite confident that's going to happen. 52%, I believe, are women. And historically, it's been more women. I don't know what happened in the last couple of months, that there's less women joining, but we'll take a look. But we had cohorts where 70% of the cohort were female. Actually, the company was founded by 2 dudes, and now we're 24 people, of which I would think 16 are women. So 8 guys and 16 women, or maybe 9 guys and 14 women, which is amazing. It goes back to the story of my mom a little bit, I guess. In the sense that I think this business cannot be really built by men, be built by men. I don't know if I like what I'm saying here, but I feel like women have a very interesting power to care for other humans. It has to do with, I don't know, maternity or something else. Men are more about them, about their own well-being, and when we decided to make TAP a company that was gonna be doing what it's doing for the people that we're benefiting, and being very active towards empowering women, something very, very obvious happened, that we attracted a lot of women to the team, and our first joiner after me and Jafar was a woman, and then today we have just tons of women, and it's really, really great to be building a company with all these women.
It's interesting what you're saying, because I think it's not isolated to TAP. I work in the sustainability impact ecosystem, and I always come across a lot of women very passionate about starting a career journey into sustainability, and we always ask ourselves, like, I would love to have data to know how many women actually embrace this kind of impact-driven career, because I think it must be a lot.
Definitely, yeah, I totally agree that it's very skewed in that sense.
Yeah. Do you have any success story to share with us from one of your TAPer?
Companies are coming back for more talent. So a company hires one person, like the German company, for example, reluctantly says, "Oh, I'm not sure what to expect," and then a couple, 6 months later, they're like, "Oh, I want to hire 3 more people." So we're starting to see companies actually hiring so many people. Another interesting thing that I like to mention once in a while is that at the beginning we had this idea that people had this idea that what we were doing is a bit not super common, right? So the same thing as the German lady said. And we had all these tappers at the beginning who were looking for a job, but we knew them. We saw that they had so much potential. So we said, okay, why not just making them our salespeople and our marketing people and our software people? So from the first cohorts, we actually hired a lot of people. And today we're 24, and I think 7 of them are tappers. So nice. We are benefiting from our own product, which is, I think, a great thing when you're consuming your own product.
How do you find the talents in Palestine? I mean, do you have relay on the ground, or how do you connect with them?
Yeah, so we I think 50%, 60% of the talent finds out about us from social media. Mm-hmm. So either they see advertisements and so on. So we do a lot of B2C advertisement, and the other 40% hear about us from word of mouth. So we started talking to universities, trying to partner with the universities on the ground, and that worked well to an extent. We realized that it's better to just go after the students, just telling them the stories of success. And we've been growing the population of tappers quite a bit in the last few months. So a lot of people are talking about it and seeing our ads.
Nice. And I'm sure that people who are going to watch or listen to the podcast would be very inspired by your story and might be thinking how to start, a social enterprise. Do you have any advice for them, for anyone willing to start a social impact journey?
Yeah. I mean, I think the more impactful your idea is, the more complex it is, the more support you're going to get on the way. I think at the same time, the harder it's going to be. So if you're ready for a big push, 3, 4, 5 years, and you have a problem in mind that you think is very solvable, but that is solvable, and you want to go after it, then just go. I think that because the mission is so pure or because it's so beneficial to the world. There's a lot of people who are gonna push you, give you the nudge when you need it, whether it's financial or it's gonna be support, mental support. Really great story, me personally, of just an example of this. I was having a bit of, maybe this goes to the kind of like vulnerability of being an entrepreneur. I was going through a lot like a year ago, and I was in my MBA reunion party, and I clearly looked like, I don't know, very bad, because one of my classmates who saw me said, "Chris, are you okay?" And this is supposed to be a party, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he says, "You look like you're dying, man." And I'm like, actually I am. I'm struggling a lot with the company and just pushing every day and so on. He said, "Well, I'm a coach, so I will start coaching you for free because I love what you're doing." So he became my coach, and he's been helping me out for almost a year now, and really helped me get out of the hole that I was in. So that's just one of the examples that I think is interesting, because if you are gonna do something that is noble, that is inspiring, it's gonna be inspiring, and people are gonna want to help you.
And seeking support whenever you need it.
Of course, that's something you have to master as an entrepreneur very quickly, because that's the first thing that will start taking the toll on you.
I could feel, from the conversation that you're living a purposeful life. And I want to ask you this question: what have you let go of to follow your purpose?
I was saying that while I had an interesting upbringing in Bolivia and all that stuff, and my dad was a traveler, and my mom passed away, and so on, my father, in the end, he created a big business, and I was supposed to take over the business. So he was grooming me, he was helping me, he was training me actually for all that I'm doing today. So in a way, I'm a really good combination of my mom and my dad. So my dad with the entrepreneurial mindset, with my mom with the heart. And I had this perfect life aligned for me in Bolivia. And I was going to be, a guy enjoying all these beautiful, the job, the inheritance, the power that comes with it, the big company, and so on. And one day I said, this is not for me, and I took off. So me and my dad didn't speak for 2 years after I did that. I gave up not only my family, my sisters, my nephew, my niece, all these guys, also my dad for a little bit. I almost thought I was not going to speak with him ever again. But eventually we did. And I feel like I've grown so much in this last 7 years now, that your gut feeling is so important to follow sometimes. And I did that day that I decided to leave and actually have a better relationship with my dad today. Mm-hmm. And I have like you said, a purposeful life. And I can do that not alone. I don't live this purposeful life alone. I'm with my whole team that does this with me, and they all feel the same purpose. And it's really great to be around these people. You can't imagine how much we build. We build together because of this mission that drives us. So I think that's also interesting in today's world, when you have the chance to build something that's purposeful, and the people that are going to be building it with you all of a sudden are just 20 times more interested in what's going on and more engaged.
Yeah, I mean, we are all, chasing purpose in a way. So yes, thanks for sharing that. I mean, it's clear that it comes at a cost, and you have to be really courageous to start this journey. And thank you so much for your openness and for the work you do at TAP, because it's an amazing work.
Thank you very much.
I want to end the podcast. I'm sure that a lot of people would like to learn more about TAP or to contact you. So how can they, get in touch with you and TAP?
Of course. So easy peasy. We have a website. It's perfectly built by our amazing software engineers trained by TAP. So www.tapcareers.io. You'll find everything you need to know about what we do, and case studies for the people who are interested in knowing the business aspects of it. Also, other interesting videos of what we do and how we do it, and a lot of cool material in there.
Super. Thank you so much. And if you liked this episode, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel or search for Impact Talk with Nadine Zidani on your favorite podcast platform. And stay tuned for our upcoming episode.